Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. Kenneth Munoz here of the Design Center of the Philippines, and I will be your host for today's workshop, Dear Philippine Design. So, how's the day treating you so far? I know that today is Sunday, and the question, how's the day treating you so far, is sometimes would come off as tricky question, just like asking someone, kumusta ka? Sometimes we don't know how to answer that question given this very challenging situation or time, but I hope everyone is doing fine. So this 10th year celebration of Design Week Philippines has been packed. Am I right? I mean, I've been checking the calendar all over the Philippines and, checking social media pages, and there are really a lot of events happening since the very 1st of October. So we had design talks, master classes, and tours on the past 6 days, and this was followed by simultaneous major and partner events throughout the week, which I'm sure has kept your design instincts buzzing all the week. So let's keep the celebration going, shall we? And, let us all keep showing our support by using our hashtags when you post your design connections experience. Hashtag Design Week PH 2021, hashtag Dear Philippine Design, hashtag Design Connections, and hashtag 10 Years of Design Week PH. Thank you, everyone, for being with us and supporting us through this year's edition. Of course, I also won't forget to thank our partners who have been with us year on year. With that, the Design Center and the Design Week Philippines would like to thank the Department of Trade and Industry, our festival co-curator, French Manila and Pineapple Lab, our international partner, British Council, our creative media partner, Adobo Magazine, our live stream partner, Kumu, our design partner, Canva, and our program partners, NASA Space Apps Philippines, and a half, Paint Plus, Wencelito Architects, University of Cebu Animation, UXPH, Life After Breakfast.ph, our host for today's workshop, Matic Hub, Robbins Design Center, Philippine International Comics Online Festival, Comiket, Design Davao Society, Architecture Design de Oro, Cagayan de Oro Design Week. Thank you very much, partners. So, for today, our workshop session is entitled "Dear Philippine Design." So just a very short storytelling. Remember when we were kids, we used to pass notes to our sitmates, friends, and maybe even puppy loves. Do any one of you had those experiences of sending notes to your friends, sitmates, or puppy loves? Maybe you can share on the chat box and just share with us what was the at least a sneak peek of the topic of what you've shared to them. Personally, letters are actually the little joys of mine. I live in Bulacan, and the love for literature has always been instilled to us by our teachers as early as 6 years old. So we've been writing poems, letters, and stories in Tagalog language on something we are passionate about. Think of this workshop, this Dear Philippine Design workshop, as something like that. But before we officially begin, I know everyone is excited to begin the workshop. I saw a lot of people posting their kits and materials on their social media pages, even on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. But before that, we'd like to share a recap on what happened on the past 6 days in case you were able to attend or not, or just like me, you have also a short-term memory when it comes to running, attending a lot of events that has a lot of information. And this session would really help make you inspired and help you prepare on the letters that you'll be writing for this afternoon session, especially for the Philippine design. But this won't be your ordinary recap, as we'll be sharing with you some extraordinary visuals of the session from our partners, Pushpin Visual Solutions. So with that, I'll be turning on now the time machine and let's travel back in time. Ready? So we consider this year's Design Week a special one. Titled Design Connections, we get the chance to dive deep into the design innovation ecosystem, putting focus on 9 major components from designers, education, research, funding, support, actors, promotion, government, and policies up to the public sector. So the day one of Design Connections was off to a spirited start with the goal of ringing in a new age of Philippine design. In the very first session of Design Talks, the team behind Design Counts, the cornerstone mapping study of Philippine design, including Nordicity, Bayan Academy, and Dr. Witcher, took the stage and revealed the initial results of the study, affirming some of our speculations, uncovering new information, and ultimately inspiring us for the future opportunities for the sector. So, what we have discovered from design counts and what can we do with these key highlights thus far? So, first, the Philippines' current design sector is ruled by our talented pool of designers. Workforce and human capital are our top strength, followed by our culture grounded on our local roots, showing great promise for what's to come for the design economy. Second, it is highly recommended that the public sector lead the way to set the standard for society to follow suit. More and more programs should be set up that promote design and design related concepts to help cultivate the national design culture. Third, it's about time that design takes the spotlight. Design and creativity are key drivers in thinking about future proofing and innovation. It is no longer contained in the realm of aesthetics or art. Fourth, it's time we make design accessible to everyone. Democratizing design begins by raising awareness and shifting the mindset of the public to be aware and acknowledge the crucial role of design in a wide range, if not all industries. Lastly, we must approach this with the user in mind. Take note, you need to keep in mind the users to accommodate all types of designers working in varied industries. Knowing this path, the path towards the national design policy seems to be clearer. That other than protecting our designers, it will also be the compass that guides our transformation to a globally competitive design ecosystem. And now, for day two, we talk about investing in design. So, Globe Studios and Metrobank Art and Design Excellence spoke about gathering funding and support for designers, such as how to get access on support and funding, what the support bodies usually look for, and the motivations of stakeholders. Essentially, designers must always consider the power of good design that can spark conversations. Finding alignment in advocacies is also a great way to keep the inspiration high, knowing that you become an agent of social change and contributing to the community proves to be a rewarding experience for both designer and investor. Both of our speakers are doing amazing work as incubators for emerging artists and designers. The goal is to always channel design as a means to positive change. It should be relatable and accessible, and this can be achieved through a collaborative relationship between designer, investor, and supporter. So for our day three, we kept the conversation going with Design for Everyday, led by Pepe Delpine, the amazing Nicolo Cosme, and Ivan Reverente, also moderated by our partner from Canva, Cookie Santos. So this session focused on the values that designers should embody, especially in this transformative time. Some insights include: first, visuals are powerful, and to be able to create something that is most of high value, it must come from a place of empathy. Second, art and design are an effective medium to get people to stop and observe. Always think about how your art or even your design can impact other people, and of course, it must always feel true to you. Third, and last, reframe your thinking from anong ambag mo, our favorite line during that session, to anong kaya mong iambag. Take note of that. Acknowledging and taking care of the community is also a way of taking care of the self or even yourself. Now, how can we integrate design in education? So Day 4 tackled just that with design education for kids with the amazing lineup of the Raya School, Miriam College Child Study Center, Happy Education Lab, Felta Multimedia, and moderated by our partners and friends from Makerspace Manila. These educators advocate for design thinking to be integrated into the school system as a means to gain empathy in children, encourage collaboration, and develop problem solving and critical thinking. So, adapting design thinking into curricula should first begin with the educator. They must be fully equipped to create a well designed experience that is filled with creativity, learning, and play. And now, for day 5, design entrepreneur AJ Di Marukot gave us a rundown of what is in store for designers outside of the country and how they can leverage digital solutions to become a global Filipino designer. His top 3 ways to get started are: first, start with passion projects. Second, put yourself out there and display your portfolio. Third and last, build your network. So the beauty of being an online Filipino worker or freelancer is having to manage your own time. Of course, every one of us wishes to have that work life balance kind of thing, that you can create multiple projects that can bring you multiple income streams to help sustain your craft. He also underlined that Filipinos are naturally creative and resourceful, allowing us to make the best out of anything that's given to us. And just yesterday, or our day six, we went on a tour of Vivistop Baguio, a creative space that encourages kids and kids at heart to engage in creative pursuits and innovation led by Gabe Mercado. This was followed by a special session led by Canva entitled Making Design Accessible with Dan Matutino, Roxy Navarra Arenal, Crystal Tolentino, and Kay Aranzanzo, and moderated by Cookie Santos, where they share different initiatives to make design accessible as a means to empower the design community to do the same. And that actually wraps up our not so long story about what we have accomplished so far in this year's Design Week Philippines Design Connections. But it doesn't stop there, because today and now the future of Philippine design is actually in your hands. So let's begin writing our love letter to Philippine design. How sweet and romantic. In this workshop, we'll take a moment to think about our dreams for ourselves and our important roles in our communities as we write letters to manifest the future we wish to have for our dear Philippine design. So with that, I'd like to introduce our workshop facilitator who just celebrated their birthday this October, and her passion project Life After Breakfast PH also celebrated its 10th year this October and has been with Design Week Philippines for many years. She is a surface pattern designer, she is a maker of handmade art tools, and she is a creative and business consultant. Let us all welcome on the virtual stage the Design Week All-Star, Alessa Lanot. Hi,
Hi.
Alessa.
Hello, Ken. Hi. Nice to see you here again. It's our
Happy
10th year. Happy
Yeah, 10th
Anib.
year. And also happy Anniv also for the life after breakfast. You know,
Yes, pareho
yeah.
tayong nagse-celebrate din naman.
Yeah, correct. Alessa, we have always been amazed on our design week collaborations with you over the years. We've designed a lot of programs already and activities that caters to everyone and at all ages. I mean, from the workshops at Intramuros, then we had the creative roundtable through the Make Space Today, your hub in Quezon City, and a lot more workshops that really caters everyone and different ages, from kids to kids at heart. And my only question before we proceed with the workshop is that what made you so passionate in sharing your craft on the Design Week Philippines platform?
Well, one of the things that I'm really passionate about is trying to help creatives make their creative professions more sustainable, so that they can continue to do the work that they love to do. And that's basically the tying theme with all our events, talks, workshops for Design Week. Every year we have talks, and we try to give creatives an opportunity to learn more about the backside of the business, 'di ba? Parang we want, aside from that, also to gather creatives, and even to just de-stress and enjoy a little bit, so that they can go back to their everyday lives too. So those are some of the things that I really enjoy sharing, especially during Design Week.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Alessa. I mean, just listening to what you've shared, I've always analogized it with the ecosystem, which is the core of Design Week. The programs that you've created and we've collaborated with all over the Design Week Philippines editions today or even in the past years. Design really is an ecosystem, and the workshops that you do or the programs that you do doesn't only touch those that are designers, but also looks at to those that are in the business, those that are in the public sector. So there's really room for everyone when it comes to Design Week
Yes.
Philippines and life after breakfast collaboration. So with that, Alessa, we know that you've been one of our constant partners in the past editions of Design Week Philippines until now, and we thank you for that. And you are, I'd say, one of the Design Week Philippines ecosystem builder. I'll prepare a badge for that. So thank you very much for
Thank you
helping
too
us.
for
Yeah.
yes, thank you for having me here today. I'm excited to share this little workshop today.
Yeah, you really are an ecosystem, design ecosystem builder. So, by the way, during the workshop, before Alessa begins, don't forget to use the hashtag Dear Philippine Design for your submissions. To members of the audience posting their letters, we'll be giving a few lucky writers some prizes. So, we have a creative path pad and the 2022 calendars up for grabs. Diba? Grabe, sobra yung support ni Alessa for Design Week Philippines. And imagine this won't only be a workshop for everyone with free kits, but you'll be able to receive as well some prizes such as the Creative Path Pad na sobrang wini-wish ko na ever since na magkaroon, as well as the 2022 calendars up for grabs. So now let the workshop begin. Take it away, Alessa.
Thank you. Thanks, Ken. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Dear Philippine Design. We are having an Indigo Ink mixing and letter writing workshop today. Yeah. Um, okay. Before we begin, maybe we can ask everybody to say hello and tell us your name, where are you from? Maybe you can type it in the chat or in the comment section. And also, maybe you can share what kind of creative work you do. So you can introduce yourself, your brand or your businesses, or if you want to share also your social media names, you can do it there. Don't be shy. Just type and introduce yourself. What's your name? Where are you from? um, what city or town are you at right now, and there what kind of creative work or which sector of the creative industry you belong to. Yan. Good afternoon, Gilbert from Binangonan Rizal Elementary School. Hi, JP, sugar flower artist. Wow. And future course creator. That's Nat. And hello, Michelle from QC. Your creative work is doodling on your planner. Gusto ko yan, di ba? Pang defrag ng mind with a latest obsession with fountain pens. Ooh, that's perfect for our session today. Hello, Ira, graphic designer from Adamson University. Elijah from Bacoor, Cavite. Hello, Joey from hello from QC, calligrapher and letterer. Nice to see all of you here. Thank you again for joining me. And as we wrap the 10th year celebration of Design Week Philippines, I mean, there's another event after this. This is our last day. If it's your first time to tune in, you can check back on all the wonderful sessions and talks that happened this week on the Design Center of the Philippines Facebook page. Yeah, and as we're waiting for a few more people to join in, you can introduce yourself again. If you just logged in, introduce yourself and say hello in the chat. And ayan, hi Nikki, based in QC. Oh, hi Nicole, there. Nice to see you. Shell, multimedia artist from QC. Ako din, coming from gloomy QC. Ang gloomy ng panahon ngayon. So thank you for joining today, maski masarap matulog. Thanks. It's going to be a relaxing afternoon. Don't worry. It's going to be pretty chill. We're going to mix. I'm going to show you how to mix ink, and then we're going to do some writing prompts for our letters to Dear Philippine Design. Okay, thank you for introducing yourself. I'd like to introduce myself too. My name is Alessa, Alessandra Lanot, but you may just call me Alessa. And I'm a surface pattern designer and the maker of handmade watercolor tools. You can find me online at Life After Breakfast PH and on my website, lifeafterbreakfast.ph. And I'm also a creative consultant. I actually facilitate the Business of Design workshop series for the Design Center of the Philippines. Right now, we're on our third run, teaching young creatives on how to work on the different aspects of their business. And then I also do some one-on-one online mentoring sessions, which can be found on bit.ly/your creative path there. And so I have these modules that I created for creatives and creative businesses. And those are basically what I do at the workshops and the mentoring sessions. And together with the Design Center of the Philippines, we turned them into a printed pad. So here we have our Creative Path Business Toolkit. It's a desk pad, A3 in size. It's pretty big, but it has a lot of the things that you will need as a creative. And um, this is that has 6 modules with 12 sheets per module. And for today, because this is a special celebration of Design Week Philippines, we are going, and Life After Breakfast 10th year, we are going to be giving away some Creative Path toolkits for lucky participants who will be sharing their work. Later on, in a bit, I'll show you how you can join. Ayan. Thank you for joining in, Mary Ann, Jaja, and Maria. Nice to see you here. There, okay. And I also just recently launched a Renewed by Nature paper collection for my 10th year anniversary for Life After Breakfast in partnership with Pulp and Pigment and International Fine Paper Exchange. So, ito, ready na ako for 2020. Joke lang. Trying to get ready for 2022. Ayan, we have desk calendars, desk planners, and notepads, and then wrapping papers for the holiday season, coasters for your desks, and for gifting also. And again, kaya ko pinapakita to because we will be giving away some items for our lucky participants today. All right. Um, So, paano ba makakuha nitong prizes? Today, we're going to be writing letters to Dear Philippine Design. And to be able to get a chance to win the Creative Path Toolkit and Renewed by Nature paper products, you'll just need to post your letters that you write today on your feed and tag at dti.designcenterph and use the hashtag Dear Philippine Design and hashtag Design Week PH 2021. Ayan lang, that's it. And then we will get in touch with you. Once you post, we'll get in touch with you and we will ask for your details. Okay, so we there will be there will be instructions on what to write, on how to compose the letters, and select letters will also be published in the year-end publication of the Design Center of the Philippines for design counts. So it will be nice for you creatives to have a voice to and to share your hopes and dreams for our creative industry through these letters. Ayan. So after the workshop, again, this is when you will post and tag us at Dear Philippine Design. Okay? There. So today we write a letter. We write a love letter, not just any letter, but a love letter to our dear Philippine Design. And we ask ourselves, what are the hopes and wishes? What are our hopes and wishes for our local creative industry? What are the things that we wish our creative industry will be in the future, or what are our wishes for our creative industry now today? So these are some questions that we will answer today, and as we go through the prompts later on, after, so we'll have 2 parts in this workshop. The first part will be the ink mixing session, and then next, we'll have the letter draft writing session. So letter drafts muna. As we are writing, I just want all of you to remember these things, these tips, okay? First, first tip, chill lang tayo, okay? Relax lang tayo because there are no right or wrong answers. Your thoughts and feelings are all valid. Okay? There walang tama, walang maling sagot dito sa workshop na to. You just need to let it flow. Whatever it is that you're thinking of, whatever it is that matters to you, lahat yan pwede niyong isulat sa letters ninyo. Okay? Next tip is that your answers have to mean something to you. You have to really want it. Okay? Ikaw mismo, ano yung gusto mo? Not just because it sounds nice. Not just because yan ang gusto ng boss or client mo marinig. Or not just because yan ang gusto ng magulang mo marinig. It has to mean something to you so that it will be as sincere as possible, so that the letter will be as sincere as possible. And then third and last tip is make your answers as specific and as detailed as possible. I always say that vague wishes will get vague results. So, kailangan, alam mo yung gusto mo, para yun eksakto yung makukuha natin. So, when we paint a picture of our dreams for our creative industry, and for ourselves also, make sure that yung wini-wish mo, very specific, di ba? Minsan, parang iniisip, pag meron kang winish, di ba, in life, or kahit sa love life, di ba? Pag hindi ka specific, kung ano-ano na lang binibigay sa'yo eh. So, kailangan specific tayo dito. Okay? Para sure lang. Alright. So, yan. Please remember these 3 tips as we are writing our letter prompts. There. So as I mentioned earlier, and as Ken mentioned earlier, I make handmade watercolor and art tools, handmade watercolors and art tools. And the watercolors that I make are made with pure earth pigments. The ink is made from nuts and plant pigments. And I also make ceramic palettes and little pen and brush rests. So these are a few of the things that you can find on Life After Breakfast PH. Iba-iba yung ginagawa ko every day kasi I'm always inspired by materials and whatever art materials I have in front of me or around me. And then um, throw a little throwback to Design Week Poblacion, the last time we did a face-to-face Design Week, I think. And we also had an ink mixing workshop then. That time we made the ink using turmeric, butterfly pea flower, and anato. And the participants learned how to cook naman the ink pigment. So this time we are doing Indigo Ink. So we'll be making Indigo Ink, and I was able to send out a few kits to some lucky participants. Maybe about 30 participants were able to get a kit, and we will be making our own ink using the indigo pigment. Okay. I guess next to being surrounded by nature, and exposing ourselves to all the beauty of nature, there might not be anything as grounding also than making your own art materials from natural materials and then being able to create something from it too. So there will be two very relaxing activities today: mixing the ink and then writing our letters using the ink that we mix. Again, some lucky participants were able to receive a special kit. I'll just go through the materials that you have, but don't worry, later on I'll explain what materials you'll need if you didn't receive a kit. So we have our gum arabic, which is inside the glass bottle. And then we have some indigo pigment in another glass bottle. And then meron din sticker label. And you also get a writing pad. So you have a gray writing pad and a dropper and a popsicle stick for mixing. And then some writing tools. So there's a calligraphy pen and nib, a brush, and a pencil. And then I also have a leaf brush rest or a pen rest, and other materials that you might want to prepare already right now are your cup of hot water, your tissue or a napkin or rag for any mess or spills, and a ruler for writing later if you want. It's optional, okay? And if you don't have materials, don't worry. All you need to get are writing tools, your choice of writing tool. It could be a calligraphy pen, a brush pen, a pencil, or a pen. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be fancy. It can be a crayon, it can be a stick and ink. Whatever you choose to write with today is perfectly fine. You'll also need ink or paint, whatever you choose to, depending on your writing tool, and your paper. So all you really need is a pen and paper for to join our activity today. And then other materials again, tissue and a ruler if you'd like. Okay, so let's get to mixing our ink. Yeah. So we have first thing I'd like to ask you to do is to prep your area. Prep your area. Make sure that there is um, something that lines your table or your workspace. I just have a I just have a old carton here. You can use scratch paper also. And then put your materials nearby, your ink mixing materials, and make sure you have a cup of hot water ready. Okay? So, indigo ink. Indigo is basically the pigment from fermented leaves of the indigo plant. Okay? Let's So the process involves soaking the pigment of soaking the leaves in water for about 2 days, and then the dye is woken up with the lye that is added, and then once the sediments settle at the bottom, the container becomes like cake, and when it dries up, it becomes the powder. So this is the powder that we have. Okay? Hindi na natin kayo papahirapan to make the indigo pigment for 48 hours. But you have the dried pigment here already. And gum arabic, the other glass bottle that I have here, is actually the sticky sap or resin from the acacia tree. So when you poke a nail or a hole through the acacia tree, some sap comes out, and that is basically what the gum arabic is. So I've already measured the gum arabic to fit this bottle. The next thing we're going to do is, can we have the slides back, please? Just so that there's a visual representation. There. So the next thing we are going to do is to add hot water. So we need 1 part hot water with 1 part gum arabic. I'm going to use my dropper. Oops. I'm going to use my dropper and add double the amount of gum arabic. So just like in the image there, you don't need much. And then use your stick. So I have about this much. And then just use your stick to dilute the gum. When you get these on your hands, it'll feel really sticky, like glue. Hindi naman siya permanent because it's It's a natural resin. So just make sure that you dilute. It's going to turn bubbly like this. Make sure you just dilute all the hard parts. So when one tip for mixing inks and even paints is that when you're mixing two different compositions together, like later on we're going to mix in the pigment here, is that you need it to be a homogeneous mixture each time you mix something new. So we add ingredients one at a time before we introduce the new ingredient or the new material. So this gum arabic that we're mixing here, so it's 1 part gum arabic to 1 part water. It's also the same gum arabic that I use for making watercolor paint. The difference is with watercolors, um, I use pigment from earth, from soil, and with ink like this, we're using pigments from plants. Now, the difference is soil pigments or a lot of earth pigments are light fast, meaning they do not fade over time. Diba? If you look at the colors of our mountains or the colors of rocks, they can stay, or even gemstones, diba? They can stay that way for many, many, many years, hundreds and thousands of years. And with plant dye, if you notice, diba, they turn brownish. Plants naturally turn brown. So if you want to make different types of colors from plant pigments or even vegetable pigments, try to look at those vegetables and plants that when they dry, they still have vibrant colors. So that gives you a sign that these are the colors that you can use and that might last longer on paper also. Okay, so just make sure you have all the sticky stuff diluted. And then once once you have everything mixed, you can now carefully open your indigo pigment and slowly mix it in. I'm going to leave some just to see if I'll need to add later on. And then you can mix it all together. Just give it a stir. And after, we add more water. So use your dropper to fill in. So what you want to do is top up, top up the water, the rest of the bottle with water. So you'll have about half indigo and gum arabic, and then the next half will just be your warm water. So I'm leaving some room so that it doesn't spill over. Normally, when I make this recipe, you can do it in larger containers if you have more pigment, or if you're using more plant material, you can mix it in larger containers, but you can use the same recipe proportion. Yes, you can shake the bottle. There's a question here. You can shake the bottle if you want, but I rather not, kasi put the you can take out the dropper if you want, but I'd rather not shake it with the dropper, because sometimes the when it's not yet diluted, the gum arabic um sticks inside the dropper and it's difficult to remove. So konting tiyaga lang, guys. Pwede kayo magmuni-muni on what we'll write later on as you are mixing. Ganun talaga. Making materials by hand is really a slow process. Yeah, so you might get some on your hands, so you can keep some tissue at bay. Okay, now it's time to test. So maybe we can fill in a little bit more water. Mix, and we will now test the ink. So get your next step now is to test. So now that your ink is full, you can get your paper, any kind of paper. A calligraphy paper is okay. I'm going to get one sheet first. And I will use our calligraphy pen. So some of you got a an oblique pen, some of you got a straight pen. If you are for those who got the oblique pen, if you are left-handed, all you'll need to do is to rotate the flange, this metal part, to the opposite direction using some pliers, so that it bends to the opposite side. So slowly, do it slowly, and create a, a shape, so that your crescent shape, so that your nib can fit inside, and then you can insert your nib inside here. There. And then if you're using this straight holder, all you need to do is insert the nib inside, and make sure that you can see the letter G out here, the name of the nib. Okay, now let's test our ink. You can squeeze in some drops. And what I do is I just align my nib towards the inside as I pour the ink on the nib. So this nib we're using is a pointed flexible nib. But again, you can use anything. You can even use the brush that comes with it. Later on, I'll show you. So we'll test how our ink flows. The gum arabic actually is what makes your ink flow nicely. Ooh, there it looks good. Meron talagang ano eh, may konting dasal pag nagmi-mix so that it works well. Yan. There. Um, if it's too thin, you can add the rest of your indigo pigment if you left some on your bottle. If it's um if it's too sticky, you might need to pour the content out in another container, or maybe mix it in here in your other bottle and then add more water. So you'll know if it flows well if um the ink has a texture that's like um, a little bit thicker than whole milk. Parang ganun yung texture niya. Very opaque. There. So these are just some practice strokes that you can do. When we use the calligraphy pen, we apply the pressure on the downstroke like this, and we don't apply pressure when we do the upstroke. Now, another thing that you might have noticed here is when you are when you are um, doing calligraphy is that you need to rotate your paper. So if you are left-handed, rotate your paper towards you and make sure that you are writing towards you so that you don't smear whatever it is you're writing. And if you are right-handed, rotate it so that you are writing away from you. So this way, your arms can move freely. I know a lot of the participants who joined um, in the workshop might already know how to do calligraphy, or baka ito merong mga nag-archi, yung mga nag-interior design who might know how to do calligraphy already. So what we're doing today, this is not a calligraphy workshop. It's more of an ink mixing and letter writing workshop. So you are allowed to use whatever kind of writing you'd like. So walang rules dito. I just want to be able to show how to use the pen properly to test the ink. So you can do some practice strokes and curved strokes to see how the ink flows. If it doesn't flow well, try to clean your nib. Clean your nib and make sure that you remove the protective coating on the nib. You can use wipes or you can dunk it in alcohol. Clean it to make sure that the ink sticks to the nib. And then when you're adding ink, cover it until the hole, past the hole, so that you can maximize the amount of ink that your nib can hold. Yan. So, pamparelax lang tong mga strokes na to. Now, we also have a brush here. So, this is a special brush. Ayan. There's a special brush kasi this is my new 10/0 brush in celebration of Design Week's 10th year and also Life After Breakfast's 10th year. So kasama siya dun sa kit. Now, you can just pour some on the tip of the brush, or if you have a palette, may palette ba ako dito? I have my little Sampaguita palette here. You can pour some ink and you can use it also to write. So, So when you use the brush, the ink the ink might appear lighter. The ink might appear lighter than when you use a nib. But for those who don't want to use a calligraphy pen, you can use this brush to write also. So you can see what feels comfortable. Okay. And because we want this to be a relaxing afternoon, we won't be forcing you to use one material over the other. That's why you can use any writing tool that you want. You can use a calligraphy pen, a brush, a pencil, your regular pen, your fountain pens. There. Um, it doesn't matter what tool you use for our writing workshop later. How much indigo do you add? You can add all of it. Sorry, I didn't see the question earlier. You can add all of the indigo pigment. I measured it already, but you can save a little bit if you're not sure how much to add. I saved maybe about a pinch, maybe 1/4 teaspoon. What's the right consistency when making the ink? So you want the ink to flow like this. So it's very opaque, um, but it's still watery. When I put this on paper, you'll see that it still moves. It still moves on top of the paper, but it's not as watery as watercolor. It's not as thick as acrylic. It's in between those two. Can you use aluminum or steel in mixing and storing? Um, it might affect the colors later on. I'm not sure with indigo, but I prefer to use glass bottles, or you can also use plastic containers when you store it, just so that it doesn't affect the alkaline or acidic values. If there are grains left, is that okay? Yes, that's okay if you are using a dipping nib. If you want to use this for a pen, so I tried using this for a fountain pen. Wag yung mahal na fountain pen kasi you might need to filter it multiple times. So I tried using it on a fountain pen or a brush pen, something that has a cartridge. You just need to filter it with cheesecloth first, because there might be some grains or granules that you need to sift out before you put it into a barrel. How much water should you add? The rest should be water. So you have 1:1 for the pigment, for the gum arabic, and then pour in all the pigment, and it'll fill up about half of the bottle, and then the rest will be water. What? Oh, there's a question here. How to clean your brush after? Just water. You can just use water to clean it. I also use soap, any kind of soap, to clean the brush. And you can wipe off the ferrule, the metal part, to clean it. There. More questions. What is life after breakfast? What's the meaning behind the name? And what compelled you to create that space? Life after breakfast is my playground. It's my playground of, and it's where I deposit all the things that I like to create. It started as just that. It was a blog, and I started it October 2011. What I did actually was I just wanted to have a place where I could post the things or document the things that I created, that I would create every day during my playtime, which is really mostly in the morning. I'm a morning person, and I wanted to honor my most productive time of the day. Ano ba mga morning tips dito? I wanted to honor my most productive time of the day through creating things that made me happy. So it's really just an outlet, and until now it remains as that, an outlet, except that I've developed more tools, workshops, and collabs with brands too, for surface pattern designs and events and creative workshops there. So yun, basically because I love mornings and I love breakfast, kaya life after breakfast. There, okay. So if you are happy with the ink, let's check on some of the participants here. How was the ink that you made? Let's go to the participants in the chat. Hi guys. Kamusta kayo dito? How are your inks? Success ba? Are you able to see the um, the slides naman? Nasang part na kayo? Testing na ba or mixing pa lang? Hindi maka-check. Ink looks like it's flowing well. Okay, nice. Testing, testing. Sure marami ditong mga calligraphy pros. So, I'm excited to see your letters later on using this ink. Can we reuse the ink when it dries? Yes, you can try to activate the ink with water. If it dries on a palette, you might have to use a brush to apply it onto the nib. So it lightens up, as you see, it lightens up a bit when it dries. But I love the color, especially on the gray paper. So yun, yeah. Bilge Marie. Sige, we'll write your name. Let's test. So it's normal to have to re-ink. After a few strokes. The nib that we provided is better than a lot of speedballs you tried in this lifetime. Oh, great. Yeah. So this nib is the Tachikawa G comic nib. originally used for outlining comics. And it's really nice for beginner calligraphy. Sakto lang yung pressure niya. Yung, yung stiffness pala. Yung stiffness, so that if you have a heavy hand, it doesn't spill all the ink right away. Okay. See you again in a bit. Okay, now we will go to our letter writing portion. So again, just some tips before we move forward. Rotate your paper when you're writing so that your arm and elbow have enough area to move. I always I always say that when you write, when you're writing with calligraphy, there really is only one little space in front of you where your writing will be the most perfect that it will ever be. Okay. Sometimes as you're writing on the bottom part of your page, your writing changes or feeling mo it's not as pretty as how it was when you started. It's not because you're tired. A lot of it is because of your arm position when you're writing at the bottom of the page. When you're at the bottom, your arms are already clipped to your elbows are already clipped to your sides. So it doesn't move as freely as it did when you were writing up here and your arm has more freedom to move there. So as what you can do is as you are moving down on your page, move your paper up so that you're writing in the same spot all the time, and then your writing will look more consistent throughout. Okay. So that's one tip, and then the second tip is that you apply the pressure on your downstroke when you are writing. The pressure on the pen is applied when you are creating the downstroke of the letter form, and then the upstroke is just lightly grazing without any pressure. You can clean your nib just before you start so that the flow is better. And you can test how thick or how thin you want your writing to be. You can write fast or you can write slower. Depending on how you feel. So try to see what feels comfortable for you when you write. Okay, I'll move on now to writing our letter drafts. Okay. I'll be asking some questions in this portion. We can I'll be asking some questions in this portion. Please bring back the slide. There. So we will have some prompts and questions to get you into writing the different parts of the letter. So I broke down the letter into several questions first so that it's not so intimidating. So that it's not too intimidating to write a long love letter. Para merong konting structure yung letter natin. And we can pack everything that we want to say in more concise sections. So this is a lot like the vision, the goal setting and visioneering sessions that we do. Um, I hope you were able to get the handout in the email. If not, or in your kit. If not, we'll go through the questions one by one. So the first question is, how has your creative life been so far? You can also share it in the chat kung gusto ninyo. Um, how has your creative life been so far? Please list down the things that you have gained as a creative based in the Philippines. What does that mean? Let's just take the time to see how much we have been blessed with. What are the things that we are grateful for as creatives here in our country? Maybe you met your best friends in the design industry or in your office. Maybe design has taught you how to be a pro at multitasking, or what else? Maybe you're a more patient person now who can smile through endless revision requests. Meron bang ganon? Meron bang nagsasmile sa endless revisions? Joke. So think about the things that you have gained as a creative based in the Philippines, or as a creative who does what you're doing, and list them all down. Let's give you a few minutes to write. You can write using any kind of pen that you choose. And just list down the things that you are grateful for as a creative here. I'm grateful for the abundance of natural resources here that inspire me to create. What have you gained as a creative? Aside from inspiration, I have learned to become a more resourceful person. So think about the things that you gained and learned through your career as a creative. The next question is, what are your favorite things about being a Filipino creative? Are there any notable moments that you might have had throughout your career? And what are those moments that you feel shaped you in your profession? What are the opportunities here that are unique to our country? Share, you can write down, list down your favorite things. about being a creative in the Philippines? I love that. I love there is so much raw design that provides more space for creatives and space and opportunities for creatives to work on. So again, these are just letter drafts. We're breaking down the questions that we'll use to to answer to write the letter, to compose the letter. Next question. What do you want to do more of as a creative? So here, in the first two questions, we talked about the present, the things that we currently have. In the third and further questions, let's talk about the things that we want to do more of. So based on what we have, based on what we're already doing, what among these things are your favorite things that you want to take with you as you move forward? Um, Here on, today, tomorrow, in the next year? What are the things you want to do more of as a creative here in the Philippines, or as a Philippine creative? Um, this is the question that I always do for goal setting sessions. Like, what is it that you want to do more of? Because a lot of the times we know what we don't want to do, but not exactly what we want to do. So this time, zone in on the things that you want to do more of in this year, in the remaining quarter, in the coming year. I want to be able to work with more local brands and startups. So you can write down more things, more than one if you want. If it's hard for you to write things down or to commit to writing things down, um, just write everything that pops in your head. You can filter them out later on. That's why we're calling these letter drafts first, so that you can focus first on the things that you think of. Maybe later on, those thoughts will inspire other thoughts to come to flow through. Just write everything that sparks. What do you want to have? What do you want to do more of? Are there any personal projects, passion projects? Maybe throughout the week of watching Design Week, some things sparked with you? Are there any passion projects that you want to do more or that you want to start? You can list them all down here. And next question, question number 4. Describe the communities that you belong to. And what do you think these communities could need right now? Communities doesn't have to be the actual industry that you work for. It could mean the people who surround you the most. It could be family if you're with family a lot. It could be friends. How can you be of service to these people around you? It could be the clients that you work with. It could be your neighborhood. It could be your province, your region. Describe that community and list down what are the things that your community needs. Like if you looked around your immediate community, like neighborhood, when you go out of your house, what are the things that your community needs? Are there any problems that you think you might be able to solve or help with? I want to be able to help creatives and creative businesses make their craft more sustainable and profitable. Next question that relates to the fourth question, how can you as a creative help your community? Katulad ng sinabi ni Ken at sinabi sa one of the talks this week, ano ang kaya mong iambag sa community mo? I hope that your ink is flowing well to those who mixed ink. Let me know if you have any questions. How are you here in the Zoom room? Is your ink flowing well? Ang tanong daw dapat ay anong kaya mong iambag? Yeah, the nib can hold two sentences. So if you want to learn more on how to explore the um, calligraphy writing, I have a calligraphy writing and floral sketching session. I'll send the participants the link here later. Those who want to learn more about it. Let's move on to the last few questions. Next question is, what is the creative future that you imagine for our country? What does that look like for you? Think about what kind of creative future you'd like to have and what you dream for our country. And what is your wish for Philippine design today? You can also think about your wish for our creative industry in 5 years and in 10 years. I wish that design as a profession, the career, will be more accepted, recognized, valued. We have some questions here. What are your go-to paper material when doing calligraphy? Um, so you can choose the ink to match your paper. If you have nice paper, it works well with many types of ink. Nice paper means that it has smooth woven fibers. It's not not much recycled fibers. And you would want to have ink that is like this ink is just gum arabic based. There's no acrylic in it. So if you have recycled fibers, I suggest mixing in some acrylic pigment to the ink so that it stays on top of paper. Otherwise, it might bleed. So the pad I'm using today is the gray area pad. It's my calligraphy pad. There's a black version available of this also. And it has two tones, a dark gray and a light gray. These are available in most bookstores, most major bookstores, from pulpandpigment.ph um, and lifeafterbreakfast.ph. Can you add more water if there are lumps in the ink? Yes, you can add more water if there are still lumps. Can you use coffee instead, but you don't have the kit to part? Yes, you can use coffee. And if you have gum arabic, it would make a nice base. With coffee, I suggest though brewing it overnight because the tannins in the coffee make it darker. You can also use tea. You can use bright flowers. So it's up to you what kind of dye you'd like to use. I've tried using, like maybe 2 years ago, I did an experiment on ink mixing. I did mangosteen, beets, butterfly pea flower. You can try adding vinegar also, like drops of vinegar to the ink. Not this ink, but if you're using like vegetables and flowers, it improves on the color and how it sticks to paper better. But I always use gum arabic to help the ink flow. There, yeah. So mixing gum arabic, you just need to mix 1:1. 1 part gum arabic to 1 part water. And then with the ink that we're mixing, it's about 1:10. 1 part of your gum arabic mixture to about 10 parts ink, pigment, and now we have our questions. So we have 7 questions. We had 7 questions earlier, and this is how we want um, to compose the letter. So first part of your letter, of course, dear Philippine Design, and then share your story. How has your creative life been so far? So that's basically the first question that we answered. And then share your love. So we list down the things that you've gained as a creative based in the Philippines and what your favorite things about being a Filipino creative is. And then talk about your creative community. or your community in general. Which community or design sector do you belong to, and what does your community need right now? Let's think about our asks. Basically, this is the part of our letter where we state our asks. And then we also ask for what is the creative future that we imagine for our country, and what is your wish for Philippine design. And then we close it off with our pledge. How can you as a creative help your community, and what can you do more of as a creative? And then in the end, of course, sign your name and signature. So take a screenshot of this if you want to save it. Save the format. We can email it also to you after. But if you'd like to continue working on it today, you can just follow this format and post your post your letters on your feed, and make sure you tag us. There's a question: is it possible for the ink to be too watery? Um, if it's too light, I would say just add more pigment. Um, Too watery will not be possible with the measurements that we sent to you. If anything, it might be too thick. So we can send the slides with the recipes of the ink to those who registered, so that you can recreate it for other types of pigments also. Okay, I hope you're able to take a screenshot of our letter format. I will leave you, I will give you the rest of the afternoon to this evening to write your letters, clean up. I mean, I'm sure you have your lists like this. You can edit it and clean it up and write your letter to Dear Philippine Design. Again, your writing tool won't matter if you're just using, for those who are watching who don't have the kit, you can use a regular pen, pencil, paper. And just make sure that you tag us. Just make sure that you tag us at DTI Design Center PH, and use the hashtag Dear Philippine Design and hashtag Design Week PH 2021. And you'll get a chance to win the Creative Path Toolkit and the Renewed by Nature paper products. There. And if you have questions, you can message me at hello@lifeafterbreakfast.ph and at lifeafterbreakfast.ph. Thank you, everyone, for joining today. Deadline for the letter is by tonight. Pressure. Tapusin na natin, di ba? Para hindi na
Yeah.
natin patagalin.
Mhm. Could be after breakfast lang dapat. After breakfast. All right, so that was our Dear Philippine Design Workshop with our Design Week All-Star, Alessa Lanot. So everyone, thank you for joining us today, folks. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. So don't be a stranger. And again, as mentioned by Alessa, tag Design Center and Life After Breakfast when you post about this workshop at DTI Design Center PH and at Life After Breakfast PH on Facebook or Instagram. So use our hashtags as well, Design Week PH 2021 and Dear Philippine Design. So don't forget to use those hashtags for your submission. Or if you're a little bit shy to show to the world your work, but I hope not, you can also send it to us on designweekph2021 at gmail.com. So again, to members of the audience posting their letters, we'll be giving a few lucky writers some prizes. We have a creative path pad and 2022 calendars up for grabs. Also, again, as you've mentioned, when we promoted the session or this workshop to everyone, selected works will be featured on our design counts and first national design policy report. Diba? Ang bongga, ang daming opportunities. Again, because your letters are not just letters, these are letters that would actually encourage more people, whether policymakers or those that are in the government sector, to support the design industry and our fellow Filipino designers. So again, the future of Philippine design is in our hands. So before I leave you, let's take a photo op, I guess. For our first photo op, I think we'd like to invite first all the participants at the Zoom to open their cameras, and then we'll have a photo op with our facilitator, Salana. All right, so I think our tech team is setting up the stage. So team, let us know when it's set so we can flash our smiles. All right, so while they are setting up, again, don't forget to use the hashtags Dear Philippine Design and hashtag Design Week Philippines 2021. So I think we're ready. So I know it's a Sunday and some of you might have that still weekend hangover. I guess I have to. All right, so let's turn on our cameras and then on the count of three, let's smile and then our team will take a photo. All right, everyone's ready. All right, so in 3, 2, 1, smile. All right, another one. 1, 2, 3. All right. So thank you very much again to all our participants who participated on the Dear Philippine Design Workshop. Again, don't forget to tag us, DTI Design Center PH and Life After Breakfast PH on Instagram or in Facebook. And don't forget to use the hashtags Design Week PH 2021 and hashtag Dear Philippine Design. So again, if you post your letters, you have the chance to be selected on the Creative Path Pad and the 2022 calendars up for grabs. And also, some selected works will be featured or will get the chance to be featured on our design counts and first national design policy report. So for our second photo op, we'd like to invite the Executive Director of Design Center of the Philippines, the Fierce and Fab, Miss Ria Matute. All right, I don't know where it's left and right is. All right. Hi, Miss Ria.
Hi. Good afternoon. Thank you, Alessa. Thank you, everyone. I saw mga suki faces in our mga workshops with Alessa. So we have loyalists na for Alessa's workshops.
Thanks for having me.
Thank
and happy
you,
10
Alessa.
years to Design
I
Week.
know.
All right, let's have a photo op.
Feeling old.
Yeah, feeling old. Can make you old as well. Just kidding. All right, let's have a photo op on a count of 3. 3, 2, 1. All right, let's take another one just to make sure we have the right shot. 3, 2, 1. All right. So again, that was our Design Week All-Star. Okay, this one. Decide. Alessa Lanot from Life After Breakfast PH. Happy 10 years also for Life After Breakfast. And happy
Thank
birthday.
you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks
October
for
really is your
joining.
month.
Thanks to everyone for joining this afternoon, and have a happy Sunday evening.
All right, so
Thank you,
thanks again.
Alessa.
Thank you very much again, Alessa. All right, thanks again, guys and folks, and thanks to our partners, the Department of Trade and Industry, our festival co-curator Fringe Manila and Pineapple Lab, our international partner British Council, our creative media partner Adobo Magazine, our live stream partner Kumu, our design partner Canva, and our program partners NASA Space Apps Philippines, Anahav, Fame Plus, Buensalido Architects, University of Cebu Animation, UXPH, Life After Breakfast.ph, Matic Hub, Robbins Design Center, Philippine International Comics Online Festival, Comiket, Design Davao Society, Architecture Design de Oro, Cagayan de Oro Design Week. We'd like to also remind our audience to answer our feedback form. To give us some feedback, kindly or simply scan the QR code appearing across the screen or in the chat. As members of our design community, your opinion matters, so don't forget to fill out the feedback form. All right, so again, that was the Dear Philippine Design Workshop with our partner from Live After Breakfast, Miss Alessa Lanot. So see you later at the closing of Design Connections. I heard from the grapevine. It's going to be a spectacular with Manila's fiercest drag queens slaying the night at Drag by Design at 8 p.m. So make sure to stay tuned on our social media pages for some updates, or you can also use the same Zoom link that we've shared via email, or you can also watch via Facebook or via Kumu, and we will be slaying the night with Drag by Design. So bring your A game and see you there. This has been your host, Kenneth Yunus, and good afternoon and see you later.